For anyone who's not yet familiar with Panopto in the audience, Panopto is a video platform, and it's used by a whole host of leading businesses to record, manage, edit, search, share, and record video and multimedia, and share it with their staff, customers, and other stakeholders. So in essence, Panopto is a complete video platform for managing, capturing, and streaming all of your organizational video. So at its simplest, you can think about Panopto in two parts. On the one hand, it's a video content management system. In other words, a secure video library for all of your video content. And second, it includes professional recording functionality that's as easy to use as consumer screen recording software. We now serve over 5 million end users at hundreds of organizations around the world. And during this time, we've seen so many creative uses for videos amongst our customers. So over the next half an hour, I wanted to share 8 key ways that we've seen video being used to boost learning, training, and staff engagement to give you inspiration and insights for your next project. So, as you may have guessed, this is going to have a slightly interactive element to help you get the most out of the content. And to kick that process off, I just want a quick show of hands. Who's already using video in some way for learning and development or communications? Okay, so that's most of you, but hopefully I'll be able to give you some new ideas and fresh insights during the session. So here's how the rest of the session is going to work. On your seat, or you will have been given a card that looks like this, and you want to be looking at the grid side. So please get your cards ready now. Is there anyone who hasn't got a card? Okay, my colleagues are on hand to give you cards. If everyone's got their card now, what we're going to do is run sequentially, starting from the top left. For each one where you're already doing that use of video, you can mark that as we're already doing it on your grid. For anyone that you're thinking about doing it in the future, you can mark it as something you want to do in the future. I'm going to give you a few ideas, insights, and quotes from our customers on each one. And basically, at the end, you're going to have a card that's going to outline where you're at with video right now and where you think you want to be in the future. So let's get started. So the first use of video on your card is executive communications. So if your organization is already using video to enhance exec communications, then you can tick that box. And if you're thinking about doing it in the future, you can tick that box instead. Just a quick show of hands, who's using video for executive or corporate communications? Okay, so that's fewer than are using video overall, so great stuff. So why are organizations using video in this way? Well, we've seen this use for video steadily increase amongst our customers over the last few years. And this has been alongside the rise of sort of increased interest in transparency growing in businesses at this time. And there's more and more interest in senior staff connecting in a more authentic way with their employees. Now, many organizations are looking to create this more transparent environment, have found that video is a great fit for this, partly because it's quite an immediate medium, but also because it has that air of authenticity and personal touch. So adding a talking head of an exec to a recording instantly starts to feel more personal and build a sense of rapport with the audience, even if they're both based in a remote office. It allows executives to outline their vision or explain key company messages or results in a very human way, and sometimes that's particularly useful if there's bad news to be delivered. Connecting consistently with remote teams is another great advantage of using video in this way, allowing senior staff to communicate with staff they may never have met before in a way that feels a bit more direct. And finally, using video in this way can make it easier to gauge interest in the message through the use of video analytics, showing where interest starts to drop off. So what do people say about this? Well, on screen, there's a quote from one of our customers talking about his team's preference for video over a dense document or email. So obviously, as with anything, choosing the right medium will help connect your messages with your audience more effectively. So the second use for video is meeting recording. If your organization is already doing this, you can tick that box on your grid, and if you're thinking about doing it in the future, tick that box instead. Quick show of hands, who's using video for meeting recording? Okay, a few of you. It's actually a bit of a newer and rising use case that we're seeing growing amongst businesses that are already using us for things like training and onboarding. So why do they want to record their meetings? Lots of organizations now want to keep a record of key meetings, such as quarterly business reviews or important project kickoffs. So rather than relying on notes or having an official minute taker at the meeting, they just have a full record of the meeting, and it can be invaluable when key ideas or milestones need to be reviewed. Recording meetings also allows attendees to give their full attention to the contents. They don't have to worry about keeping up with taking notes. And it's great when you have new starters and you want to build up their knowledge of, for instance, a project that they might be being assigned to. They can just watch the relevant meetings and they'll be fully in the loop. If you have scheduling conflicts, people can catch up on demand. Now, of course, there are some considerations here around making sure meeting participants are aware the meeting is being recorded and agree to this. But in many cases, staff across the board are really seeing value in having a full record of a meeting. We're working with customers like leading banks, hedge funds, and social media platforms, all of whom are now recording their meetings for review on demand. So, the next use on your grid is employee onboarding. If your organization is already doing this, tick that box, and you know the drill by now. If you want to do it in the future, tick that box instead. So, quick show of hands. Who's doing employee onboarding with a video element to it? Okay, so a small number of hands up there. Great. Well, why are some of our customers doing this? Well, they want to create libraries of new hire training videos full of tutorials and best practices. And a video library gives a business the ability to offer secure, on-demand access to key learning resources, which can be really key in the early stages of a job. We know from research that we recently conducted that 50 hours are spent in an employee's first month asking co-workers for help. So video can help new hires become self-sufficient much more quickly. Organizations are also able to use video to improve the consistency of their onboarding initiatives, particularly if they have geographically dispersed teams. Rather than having sort of material cascaded down, everyone can view the same content. Video also allows personalization of the onboarding experience, and we've seen this work both ways. So having a video of a trainer with a talking head instantly kind of helps create rapport with a new starter. But also in our own organization, we get all of our new hires to create their own introductory video. It's no more than 5 minutes. It's a bit about their background, what their current role is, some of their interests, and immediately it means that if people have to go to them for things, they feel like there's a sense of the ice having been broken. And some companies are also aiding the onboarding process by providing sort of HR staples, such as policies and procedures, information on annual leave, and detail about company benefits through video. So what do people say? Well, this is from the CEO of a leading financial technology company that we work with, and he had a problem where it was a highly technical, detailed kind of financial services product that he had to ramp up new hires on. And as he says there, it significantly cut the time he needed to sort of gear up new starters. Sure, lots of you will be interested in that. So the next use for video on your grid is video content management. So if your organization's already doing that, you can tick that box. And if you're not, and you're thinking about doing it in the future, it's that box. Quick show of hands. Who's using a formal video content management system or platform at the moment? Okay, a few of you. So why are organizations creating these formalized video libraries? Well, they're doing it in order to centralize their video assets. For anyone who didn't put their hand up just then, if you think about all the different places you might have video in your organization, it's probably stored and shared in a range of different ways. Some of it's on public platforms, some of it's in folders, some of it's in file shares, some of it's on people's devices. And so if you wanted to create a sort of a consistent experience for your employees, it's actually quite difficult to do that. Having everything in one place also lets staff search across everything that's in the library. So in the Panopto video platform, for instance, we have Inside Video Search, which allows users to search for any words spoken by a presenter, any words shown on screen, included in a PowerPoint slide deck, in a transcript, notes. And so what it means is that staff who want to kind of hone in on a key concept can go to their video library, type in a keyword, and pull up any video that is using that keyword, but also the precise moment in the video where that keyword is mentioned. A video content management system also allows companies to put in place very fine-grained access controls across their organization. It helps you scale video more effectively and differentiates something like Panopto from things like Vimeo or YouTube, which are obviously mass consumption products. I'm sure, if you went to YouTube and Googled, product roadmap or something like that, you'd be amazed at how many things accidentally get put on public view when actually they need to be shared only with a small number of people. And video platforms also allow organizations to integrate video into different portals, such as your LMS, so that you're not training staff on a new system, they are going to where they're already familiar. And of course, a major benefit of using a platform for video content management is that they will use modern streaming protocols, so it won't compromise your network, which will make your IT team happy, which everyone wants to do. So what do people say about this? Well, on screen, we've got a quote from a customer who's based at a law firm that we work with, and a comment says it all really, that using a video content management system has basically enabled better knowledge sharing between their various offices. So the next use on your card is live broadcast. So again, tick if you're already doing it, tick the other box if you're thinking about doing it. Quick show of hands, is anyone doing live broadcast for training or events? Okay, a few of you. So this is a really popular use of video amongst our users. It's partly because in our system you can turn any recording into a live broadcast just in one click, so it makes it really easy to start sharing content very quickly. So lots of customers are from organizations that want to scale their corporate messages to thousands globally. Typically, they're global teams based in different offices. When there are events taking place in a headquarters, live broadcast brings it to all office locations, making sure that often for the first time, international colleagues can really feel like they've kind of got the same experiences as those based in the headquarters. And lots of companies are also sharing live broadcasts of things like town hall meetings or conferences. Many of the customers who are doing this, they're also using multi-camera distributed recording, and this is a way of doing a recording that doesn't mean you have hundreds of cables trailing everywhere. It's obviously much more, make your health and safety people happy too. So what do people say about this? Well, on screen, you've got a quote from the Director of Communications at Mizuno, the retail company. We've actually got a case study with a bit more detail on this on our stand. If you're interested in live broadcast, they're using us to live broadcast lots of company meetings and town hall type events. And you can see there that for them, it's about bringing everything to life. Now, onto tutorial videos. Again, if you're already doing this, tick that box. If you're thinking about doing it, that box instead. Quick show of hands, video tutorials, who's doing this? I thought there'd be a bigger show of hands here. So I'm sure lots of you will already know this, but many organizations are really getting a lot of value out of creating these how-to or tutorial videos to convey processes or procedures, such as how to use a certain piece of equipment or how to use key organizational systems. So this approach often has a peer learning element, with staff creating short tutorial videos and sharing best practices with their teams. And video is great for this learning approach, as it allows you to show physical processes in detail. You can also use multi-camera setups for, say, complex demonstrations where you'd need to be able to see a procedure from multiple angles. And these types of videos don't necessarily have to be formal or particularly planned. A rep out in the field might discover a great way to streamline a process or fix a problem. And it's easy for them to film their insight using their mobile device and share it with their manager or team. Incidentally, who out of you recruits a lot of graduates? Anyone recruiting quite a lot of new graduates, new hires? Yeah, some people at the back there. This might be of particular interest to you, because we undertook a survey with the youth trend experts, Voxburner, and that showed that the majority of young people in the 18 to 24-year age group were already using online video platforms to teach themselves things. And this ranged from things like practical DIY techniques to learning how to budget. And it was about 75% of that age group would immediately go online to teach themselves something. So knowing that your staff, and perhaps especially graduate hires, although I think this is becoming a growing trend, are likely to turn to online video to teach themselves things, there's a lot of benefit in doing that yourselves and creating your own playlists of tutorial content. Doing this lets you do things that are business specific and remove the distraction of online ads that you get if you use a public platform. So what do people say? Well, on screen is an insight from the Director of Product Management at Qualcomm, and the benefit of video for highly detailed, highly technical training is clear from the message there. Now, onto staff training. Probably the most widely practiced use of video amongst our customer base, at least. If your organization's already doing this, tick that box. And if you want to do it in the future, tick the other box. Show of hands, who's using video for staff training? Almost everyone. Great. So one of the biggest benefits of using video is that it offers a simple way to cost-effectively scale employee training initiatives. Rather than sending trainers out to do face-to-face training sessions in all of your offices, you can film training and distribute it so that remote teams can access that content on demand. And this also helps beat the forgetting curve, enabling them to refresh their knowledge at the point of need. And video also is great for things like micro-learning sessions, easily absorbed chunks of video learning that can be watched at the point of need for just-in-time learning. And another key aspect of creating video that we've seen amongst our users is adding interactivity through embedded quizzes. This helps check comprehension throughout the video and also helps keep engagement levels up. Another way to sense check engagement levels is to use video analytics. So a platform like Panopto will have video analytics built into the system, and you can look at those analytics to see when people's attention starts to wander. And this is offering some of our customers really valuable insights where they see a big dip in engagement at a certain point where a concept was too hard for their team to absorb. And then they've pulled that out and created a more in-depth piece of content about that training material. So what do people say? Again, on screen, another quote from Qualcomm, and this talks about the impact video has had on their ability to scale training cost effectively. I'll just give you a moment to read that. It's a bit longer. It's a real focus there on sharing subject matter expertise and increased collaboration through video. So the last use of video that we're going to cover is social learning. As ever, if you're doing it, you can tick that box. If you're thinking about doing it, you can tick that box instead. Is anyone in the audience using video for social learning activities? Oh, only one at the back there. There we go. So amongst our customers, we're seeing a lot of interest in video for social learning, as it lets people easily share their subject matter experts' knowledge and for teams to share knowledge in a way that maybe hasn't been possible before, in a way that feels more personal than just sending a document. Video also allows you to capture the nuance of how something is done. Sometimes it's useful to have a checklist of how to do a certain process, but unless you see the nuances of how it's done, it's quite hard to make it sink in. So sometimes that's equally as important as knowing what to do, how to do it. In certain sectors, another key element of this approach to social learning is that they've got a lot of retiring employees, and they often take a wealth of knowledge with them when they leave. And video offers the opportunity to capture some of this before people leave, so that it can inspire the next generation of recruits. And of course, social learning often has a mobile learning dimension, and at Panopto we're very much about facilitating learning anytime, anywhere. We see instances such as sales reps who learn a new insight in a meeting or hear about a new trend, and they record that insight in a short video captured using our app on their mobile, and that gets sent straight to their team with the sharing permissions that I mentioned earlier on. And that kind of stuff, like real in-the-moment learning, can be very valuable, particularly in certain sectors. So what do people say? This is a quote from a training specialist at a business intelligence software company we work with, and it's literally outlining the process of a developer creating a video to aid a new hire. So, as the bottom of the quote mentions there, it's not just that it solved the problem in the moment, but that then becomes a resource where it's stored in their video library, and anyone who has the same question can now access this on demand at any time. So we've reached the end of all the different uses. Why does this all matter so much? Well, we recently did a survey into workplace knowledge sharing and learning, and on screen we're just going to go through some of the key things we learned during that. So we learned that 60% of employees have difficulty getting information that they need. We learned that 50 hours are spent in an employee's first month asking co-workers for help. 8 hours a week are spent searching for knowledge. 63% of employees said they preferred to work at a company where there was an open sharing culture around unique knowledge. 81% of employees said that personal and work experience was the hardest to replace. And 70% of employees duplicate efforts through lack of access to others' knowledge. So if anyone's interested in more findings from that report, if you come over to our stand, it's available on our website. There are explainer videos going through some of the key highlights of that. So come over and we'll take your details and share that with you. And we know from our customers that video can help solve some of these challenges. So if you want to find out more about how we're helping organizations use video to enhance knowledge sharing, communications, and employee engagement, we're literally just there at Stand 46. And you can contact us by any of the channels on screen. I want to just quickly call out the blog. We have a really active blog. Every day there are articles on new ways to use video for learning and development and training. So check that out. And if anyone has any questions now, we have a few minutes. Otherwise, we will see you on the stand. Thank you for attending. Any questions?